This just in, it's time for your favorite show, Adobe Office Hours AM. Today we're covering Illustrator Basics. Learn how to start Illustrator as a beginner and level up to be a little less beginner with your hosts, Andrew Hockrattle and Nick Longo. Hi, everybody.
A little less beginner.
Just know that when I was doing that, I literally was like this. Like I had like the little I was like, hello, just in from the studio. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Adobe Office Hours. I'm Andrew Hockrattle.
I'm Nick Longo.
And this is Adobe Office Hours AM. It is a new version of our show. And I have something very special for you if you're just tuning in or you're watching the replay. Down below us, there should be a link. If there's not a link, go ahead and refresh the page. If you refresh the page and it's still not there, moderator, it's in the YouTube description. Can you grab the link for us? There is a link that is a starter file for you to join us today if you're looking to learn Adobe Illustrator. The starter file has a nice little grid for you to get started and work on Illustrator, or you can go to bit.ly/OH Illustrator. So bit.ly/OH Illustrator. Thank you to Jack Wanset, our moderator, for putting that in there. Yay. Nick, what are we doing today? Give us the overview, give us the rundown, and for people that are watching the replay, maybe where they can skip to if they don't want to listen to us talk.
Yeah, so today is all about Illustrator Basics. Consider it the 101 condensed into one single episode. And we're going to go over our favorite kind of introductory kind of tips and lessons, and just to get you acquainted with the app if you really never used it. I know some people always say like, I'm more Illustrator or I'm more Photoshop. So if you're one of those more Photoshop people and you want to be more into the Illustrator one, we're going to help you do that with some really great tips today.
Welcome to the show. So let's go ahead and hop in to what we want to talk about. And the first thing that I want to start with is just an overview of what Illustrator is, or what it looks like and how it functions. So when you open Illustrator, it will look like this. You know what, Nick? We should actually do this. If you don't have Illustrator installed on your computer,
let's start from the very beginning.
Let's start from the very beginning. So in 1989, Andrew Hockrattle was born. So if you don't have Illustrator, you can go to apps right here, and it will show you all the apps that are available to you in your Creative Cloud plan. If you're a Creative Cloud member, these are all the apps that are available to you, and Illustrator's right here. You can just open that. Also, if you want to get a little heads up on what's on the way, you can go to beta right here, and it will show you all of the beta that is here. So check it out. You can have the Illustrator beta, and you can test features and fixes that are under development in the beta build if you would like to do that as well. So you can do that right here in the Creative Cloud desktop app. But once you open up Illustrator, this is what it looks like. And I'm going to kind of just do like a round robin circle tour of what Illustrator is. Nick is going to go through a lot of the tools, and we're going to show some use cases, but I want to kind of get you familiar with what Illustrator is. So the biggest difference between Illustrator and Photoshop, Nick, when you were saying, I'm an Illustrator guy, I'm a Photoshop guy, yes. What is the difference between Illustrator and Photoshop?
The biggest difference is the way the graphics are appearing and the way the graphics are in the file. You have vector and you have raster. AI, Illustrator, is vector, meaning it's paths and it's assigned fills and strokes, whereas raster is all pixelized. Notice when you zoom into a basically raster image, you are going to see the resolution. But look at Illustrator. Super razor crisp all the way through, looks so good because it is more math-based than it is pixel and square grid.
Yep, absolutely. And if you want to really see the difference between that, you can hit Control-Command-Y, and that's going to show you the difference between, this is a mathematical line that is being, Andrew.
What are you doing?
Hold on. Hold on. This is a mathematical line that is set for this circle, and this is just saying, hey, there's a box here. So this is raster, and this is vector. That's the biggest change in Illustrator, is raster to vector. And using vector allows you to do larger scales, allows you to do screen printing, highly detailed work here in Illustrator with that. So there are a couple different pieces of Illustrator that you can create. So Illustrator is really based on these three things. So the first is a line, and a line just goes from point A to point B, right? And in Illustrator, you'll see an anchor point. So anchor points are right here at the end. They're little like boxes usually. And that is an anchor point. And that's just saying this is a starting point or an ending point. Now, if you're working with a path, they're a little bit different. They have anchor points, but they also have something that are called, Nick, what are these called?
Segments?
Bezier curves.
Oh, I thought,
Ooh.
yeah, yes, for sure.
Bezier.
Well, it could be a corner. It could be a harsh corner.
It could. It's true.
Like, yeah.
So this is a little handle that allows you to pull out a line and make it a path, right? So a line, instead of starting one place and ending one place, we have a path that kind of curves. This is the second element in Illustrator. And the third is a shape. That's simply a very basic shape. You can make circles, you can make rectangles, triangles, basic shapes, and then you can kind of have pieces of that. And someone said, ooh, General Kenobi says tangents. That is actually the correct answer. That may be a more correct answer.
It's a combination of both of our answers in a better word.
Yes. So let me take you over here and to kind of fill in the working space of what Illustrator is. And I just broke my toolbar here.
There you go.
Okay, so on the left over here, we have our tools. These are all the tools that help you work in Illustrator. Nick is going to be showing a lot of what these tools do, but these are your tools over in Illustrator. Now, when you come down here, this is your fill and stroke. When you have an object selected, it's going to show you if it's filled with something, which means that it is fully filled in with that color, or a stroke, which means that just that line is kind of drawn on. Down here, we have the document information. Y'all actually can't see it very well. Let me make this smaller, and you should be able to see a little bit better. Hold on.
This is like your data for each one, like what the size is, what scale you're at, all that fun stuff. Yep.
So there's Adobe Express, everybody.
Hey.
So you can see kind of a little bit better down right here. There's information down that's the size, the scale, angles, as well as the artboards that you're working on. But that's not super important. And then next to all that information, we'll make it smaller again. Next to all that information, there is a what tool you're using. So right here, it says zoom, and that's just going to tell you what tool you are using. If you ever confused or you don't know, it says right here every time that you change it. It also will change the contextual toolbar as you work through that as well.
Wonderful.
So hotkeys to know. Here's some very, very basic hotkeys that you should know that'd be helpful. I'm going to zoom in here so y'all can take a screenshot of those right there. V is a selection tool. That's how you select things in Illustrator, how you grab different elements. A is the direct selection tool, and that helps you pick a piece of something, right? So if I use the selection tool, which is V, on this shape, I can move and click and drag the whole shape around. If I'm using A, which is the direct selection tool, it's a white arrow, I can actually grab individual pieces of this and move around these different anchor points that are the edges of the shape. So we got those two. We've got spacebar as the hand tool, and just holding spacebar, you can click and drag and move things around. That's how I'm moving things around here as we look at them. Z is zoom in. Z plus Alt is zoom out. We've got the text tool, Control S, save. You got to save. Control Z, undo. We know that one. And the arrow keys can move things, and Shift is going to move things at 45-degree angles. So vertical or to 45 instead of just loosey-goosey wherever we go. If we hold Shift, it will keep it right at that angle. So those are some helpful hotkeys for you in the basis of Illustrator. And Nick, let's talk real quick one thing about what is a Bezier curve. We talked about this. It's unique to Illustrator. And someone saying anchor points, wasn't that a show in one time?
You know it was. Good stuff.
Rest in peace, anchor points.
Yes.
I might make a comeback at one point. We'll see. All right. So a Bezier curve. This is probably the number one question that we get about Illustrator is how do Bezier curves work? What do we do with Bezier curves? What is this? How do you work with the pen tool in Illustrator? It seems to be big and scary, but it's not. So if we grab the pen tool up here, this is what a Bezier curve is think about it as a roller coaster, right? The roller coaster is starting right here at the first anchor point, and then it's heading to the top of the hill, right? To get to the top of the hill, we need to have a little bit of momentum, right? We need some speed to push it forward. So all you're doing when you are creating a Bezier curve or using the pen tool is giving it that speed. So we're going to click, and then we can't just click, because if we click here and then click over here, it's basically just going to say, hey, go from this point to this point, right? There's no curve. There's no speed. We're not making a roller coaster. We're just kind of climbing a hill. So we want to make a roller coaster. So we're going to start here, and we're going to say, hey, we want you to launch out of the dock with this much speed to get to the top of the hill. So we're going to click and drag to the right, and you'll see that handle is pulling out. So as that handle pulls out, that's how much speed we're giving this line, right? To kind of ramp up and ramp down. So we're going to pull it out quite a bit. And then you'll see as we start to go, it's now at a curve, right? We're curving with that speed and we want that speed to continue. So I'm simply going to click here and then I'm going to keep dragging out and you'll see that that speed will continue to drag that line. So now we have another handle there. And now we have this path that is speeding one way and speeding the other. And you see, we don't exactly have the curve, but now we can use the direct selection tool, which is the white one, to grab that point and just grab that handle and give it a little more speed on our roller coaster. And we can just change how much speed and how much resistance we have on our roller coaster to have a perfect little line that now we have a perfect little Bezier curve using the pen tool. So think about it as speed. And if you ever get the speed wrong, you can grab that direct selection tool using A, click here, and then change how much speed you're giving to each of those sides, right?
You know, one of the best tips I ever got with that was, I think in my beginning days of using the Bezier curve and everything, I thought it needed 3 more points to make that curve, right? And what you find is the least amount of points will give you the cleanest and the most true form, which is awesome.
Yep, I used to always do this as well. When I was trying to make a curve, I would try to go like here, and then I'd do one here, and then I'd do another one over here and try to make it so that it was like lined up. And really what you want to do is you want to find the topmost, leftmost, rightmost, or bottommost. This is just a little pro tip. And so to create that same curve, we can just go up here and then up here.
Yeah.
And you have a version of that curve. So super easy. And that way you can actually grab these and just drag that curve up. So once you have it, you can use the direct selection tool A and just move the actual curve around if you don't want to go with the handles. It looks like somebody's like, yeah. So some pro tips for you there in Illustrator. Just talk about some Bezier curves and how you use Illustrator with the pen tool, which is one of the more advanced. So let's pull it back. Let's talk about some of the basic tools, Nick. Let's hop over to your worksheet. We got worksheets today, y'all. Nick, let's hop into some of the basics of Illustrator and chat. If you have any questions about Illustrator or tools that you're struggling with, please let us know in the chat and we will love to answer those live on the stream right here. In chat, you know what? I think, Nick, do you think chat's been good today?
I think so.
I think they deserve a little treat
already. Yeah. I believe so.
Welcome back, chat. You get to be on the screen today. Yay! Chat.
Working with
Let's
us.
see. Yeah, hang out with us today. All right. Cool. So, Nick, hop in. What are we going to talk about first? How are we going to kind of jump into how we work in Illustrator?
Perfect. You can't do anything until you have created basically your artboard. And your artboard is really a versatile kind of area. It is a 1-page document. It could be a 100-page document. It's so versatile to use. But even with an artboard ready to go, let's go straight up to File and New. And this is where you get your new document dialog box. And here's where you have all the magic of starting off your piece. What's cool here is you have anything you've saved. If you can save a document or anything, Adobe gives you a ton of like great starting points to go with. But you can go straight to mobile and you can get custom made artboards ready to go, web, print, you name it. I usually have recent on because anything I've made in the past will show up in here. And you can see exactly what you're getting. Here, I'm just going to get a letter page document at 11 by 8.5. If I click on it, notice I'm not getting there just yet. I still have some control over on the right. So here I can change the orientation to either portrait or landscape. I can actually go in here and we're going to make a few extra boards in the same file, which is awesome. Do you remember figuring that out? Like seeing someone working in Illustrator, I'm like, how do they have different artboards in one file? And I'm like, I need to get on board with what that is, right? So here I could take the 1 and let's say, well, let's go to 4. Here, if you're using bleed, if you need to have an established bleed and you want to have it nice and custom, usually it's like, 0.25, whatever you want. You click it on 1, and because I have it locked, it's going to do it on all 4, which is great. Another great thing is, what are you making this for? Do it at the very beginning. I always like to kind of like make sure I know if this is going to be a digital print or something that's going to be screen-based. We'll go into RGB. But if it's going to be print-based, do it in CMYK, because the last thing you want to do is send something off in RGB and people love the colors. And then this is a print job and it can't be done in those exact colors, right? So we're good to go. But what's nice here is if you scroll down, you do have the more settings. And when you click on this, this is where you have a little bit more control of the arrangement of those artboards and how they're going to look on your exact file. So we had 4 artboards. Right now I have 2 columns. So let's say I want those columns to be in sync with how many artboards. So I'm just going to go up to 4. And then the other thing I use a lot, I'm sure most people do, is you have this default of spacing. So notice here, I'm going to go to maybe 1 inch for that. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me 1 inch spaces between those artboards. Everything else looks pretty good. Our bleeds here as well. We'll hit create document. And there we go. So we have our 4 in line.
4 artboards.
Look at that, ready to go. And what's great about this too is in your artboard section, so you can go up here. Let's just get artboards on here for a second. Here's your like artboard kind of dialog box. I can put it into my side one here. So
don't put it there. That's where chat is.
Oh, look at that.
Sorry,
guys.
Sorry, chat.
Right out here. There you go. And notice here, you can name them. You have complete control with them. You can lock them. Great stuff here to play around with and use. But that is how you get your artboards ready to go. And now, obviously, you can kind of work and do some of the stuff there as well. It's such a great tool. I think I've had some up to like 50 or 60 artboards with one file. And the beauty is when you're either exporting or doing things for a batch kind of thing, let's say you've made a different logo collection, you have 20 different logo collections, then you have them in different colors and everything. The exporting is so much easier now because you've given them a defined artboard per design that you're using.
Yep. And think about your artboards as windows, right? So as you're working on artboards, as you create an artboard, it is like a window. Anything that's outside of the artboard won't show. So you can work messy, you can work all over the place. As long as what's showing inside that artboard is good, that's what's going to be exporting. So don't worry about things going over the edges. Don't worry about keeping everything clean. You can have it bleed off the edges. You can have it be crazy because it's only a window within that artboard of what's going to export and what's going to show.
There you go.
Which is really cool. All right. So let's talk about selection tools. We talked a little bit about it, Nick, but can you show us some examples of maybe different selection tools and how we'd use those selection tools with different shapes?
Yeah, for sure. So I've got a few shapes here to kind of mess around with. Your first one here, when you hover over anything here, it will tell you exactly what it is. So your selection tool is the one that has, it looks hollow, or I'm assuming that's more, is that because of dark mode, or is that always, would you consider that hollow or solid?
With the selection tool, solid.
Yeah, exactly. I guess in when you're dark mode, it kind of inverses a little bit, right? So when this is selected and I grab anything, it takes it as a single unit, right? It's taking it as is, doesn't distort it or do anything, and I can move it to anything. I can put it over anything, good to go. But when I hit this and hover over, let's get that there. I want to make sure it shows up.
The direct selection.
There it is. Look at that, direct select. I love that it gives you these. Even if you're a pro, I still need these things every once in a while.
Yep.
What I love about this now is I can actually go into any one of these particular corners and now move these as necessary. So again, shift key, like Andrew said earlier, will keep it kind of parallel or at 45 degree. It will do it at 90 degree, which is great. You could do multiple and select 2 and move them, which is great, or even 3 and move those around. Oh, that's kind of cool when you have one base like that. This is where you can get some really cool, like kind of odd shapes if you're looking for different geometrics and stuff, which is kind of fun. It looks perspective as well. So that's great. Also, when you have that direct select, I can now do things like round the corner of just one particular corner.
Ooh, how'd you do that?
Yeah, there's that little anchor point right there. See if that little guy right there. You grab the corner thing there. If it's there, it's telling you you have 2 points that aren't curved, right? They are a right angle. What would that be the right terminology for that? Just a point with no curve.
Yes.
This will allow you to do it at any kind of curvature, which is awesome. Now, I'm going to do a few undos, which is the Command Z. We know that. Go back to the actual one. In your one here, if I have nothing individually selected and I go to that piece, this will do all 4 at the same time. So what's nice about the direct select tool is you can go right to this specific point you want, do any kind of edits you want to it as well, or even, which is kind of cool, you can click on it and actually delete it, and it will delete and give you, now you've broken the shape and you only have a path, which is really cool.
Yep. So we do have some questions from our YouTube chat.
Hey,
hi,
guys.
YouTube. Look at you over
Katrina
here.
In there?
What's up? Katrina's in here. Katrina says, I need this class as a season learning basics. Maybe we'll do a bunch of basics back to back.
Right.
We'll do some others next week, maybe. And someone said, should you use the Bezier curves while creating all curves? No,
No.
you don't have to use the pen tool and draw out every curve and every path. There's a lot of different ways to do that. We also have a question from June Nightingale. I need to know how to create and control shapes with the pen tool. Pen tool is a little tricky to learn. We showed a little bit of it, but let me show you a real trick. Katrina, let's get to your question, and then we'll do something for June. There are a couple different ways to make curves here in Illustrator. Another one that you can do is to use the arc tool. So if you need to make a different curve, you can actually click and hold on most of these different pieces and these tools, and it will show you different versions of it. So this one, instead of the line segment tool, you can use the arc tool, and from there you can click and drag, and it's going to make that curve for you. Now, while you're clicking and dragging it, you can hit up or down to change the like roundness of that curve. You also can hit left. Oh no, PRO chat. There's a hotkey that will switch it. Hold please, chat. Is it bracket? No. Chat, hold on. There it is. Okay, what did I do? Okay. Hold please. Okay. Oh no, did I change something? Oh, chat. I like changed an actual setting. Oh no. Okay. So X is going to allow you to change it from left to right, and then C is going to make it a shape or make it just a path. So X is going to help you flip it. C is going to make it a shape. So if you are ever drawing a curve, you can actually just do it this way. And you won't need to use the pen tool as much. You still will need to use the pen tool for a lot of stuff, but you can use that arc tool right there to help. With the pen tool, we're saying, do we need to learn pen tool to create and control shapes? So easy ways to do that is if you have a shape, let's say like this circle here, you can actually use the pen tool with a couple different ways. So we can just click and draw with the pen tool, or you can hover over and see how you have that plus. You can add a path to an existing shape. And once I have this path, I can maybe pull it in, and maybe we want to make this like a cool little like Pac-Man shape. Is you can kind of click and drag and pull this in. We also can use the pen tool here to turn this back into a sharp point. All you need to do is hold Alt on a point, and boom, it creates it and makes it a sharp little point right there. And then we can use the direct selection tool up here to maybe change these handles to give us a little bit more lip for that mouth. And now we have this like cool little Pac-Man that is like gonna eat. I guess he'd be eating that way. So
fun when it turns. That's
really
sick.
To change that, you can just use the pen tool and hover over kind of where things are. You also could remove anchor points. So if you wanted to remove that one, you could remove anchor points from the shape and it would bring it back to the original shape right there. So you can use the pen tool a lot of different ways to edit shapes and make it really easy. And Nick, you have a great logo over there to practice with the pen tool. Can you kind of give us a look at like, how would you practice maybe trying to build this with the pen tool?
There was one question that said, can you build it with like other ways? Does it have to?
Oh, yes. Talk to us about that.
Right? And so what I'm going to show you here is with just the pen tool and just strong right angles, I'm just going to pinpoint some of the key spots like that, right?
Yep.
Hover on over and you have this curvature one. And what this will do is when you bring it right in here, it will actually allow curvature right there. Kind of like you can see, this is one of those ways that's like, I probably did the wrong points, but there's a way to actually take just complete right angle, no curvature ones, and go in with the curvature. And you can see you can have this control. Yep. One thing I like about this is it kind of, if you're not used to doing it the right way, good way to start it.
Yes, it is. And just a pro tip using the curvature tool and using the pen tool. When you are putting your anchor points, a lot of people don't know where to put the anchor points. You want to put it at the top, bottom, left, and right. So, Nick, where would you put? We need maybe, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, just a few. Exactly. So we're just looking for
almost that.
We probably need one there, and then another one. Yeah, probably there, because that's the bottommost part of that rung, and then connect it, and then we probably need to add one on the left because we go to the leftmost right there.
Exactly.
So you can see that like you can do most things with like 5 or 6 anchor points, especially if you're just creating a shape, because we're looking for the top. You see the top shape, the left, bottom, right, top, right? And I almost think about it like the little DVD menu that like bounces around the screen.
Exactly, yeah.
We're just doing that. Try to go straight lines. And then from here, we can round out some corners. We can extend. We can use a curvature tool. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of create organic shapes and icons using the pen tool and then kind of just hacking it together so that it works for you.
This is a great one. The anchor point tool, which is kind of like the upside down V here. This is great. It turns any like solid kind of corner point to an actual curvature. So as you do this, let's just say right now, I like that. I'm going to keep it there. Let's do this one. We can see that here. And just like Andrew showed earlier, you can now take these different anchor points here and find the perfect way that that's going to work with your thing. So this is really a cool way to try it as well. I think the best thing is to truly just experiment with these things because there are different ways. I love seeing an artist that does something totally different than I do. Maybe it's a different tool or a fun hack that does it in half the time. Always fun.
And a great question in chat. We always have a plan for this show. Well, we most of the time have a plan for the show, but we always will derail if you have great questions. And chat, you've had great questions today, so keep your questions coming for Illustrator. We're trying not to get too advanced, but we will answer the questions as they come in. And a great question from Felicia. Hi, Felicia. I think we met in Houston. Would love to see some pro tips on using the Shapebuilder, especially when attempting to make a vector 2 different colors. I find it doesn't always work for me the same each time. Great question. So let's say that we want to make a moon because it is a full moon, which doesn't help for this example, but let's pretend that it was like going to be a half moon. So let's say we want to make a moon. What we can do is we can actually use the shape tool right here. So rectangle, ellipse, polygon, it's all underneath this shape tool right here. We can just click and hold. And this time we're going to make an ellipse. We're going to click and drag, and we're actually going to hold shift as we make that. And that is going to keep it as a perfect circle. From here, we're going to copy and paste it. So we're just going to Control C, Control V, and paste. And now we have two shapes that are kind of overlapping each other, right? And what I want to do is I want to create a moon out of this extra piece right here. So what we can do is we can use the Shapebuilder tool. And there's a couple different ways to use the Shapebuilder tool. We're going to select by just click and drag and select all of our shapes right here. And then come over to the Shapebuilder tool. This is a way in Illustrator to join shapes together. And this is a great way to get around using the pen tool is you can just create shapes and then use the Shapebuilder tool to add them together, to subtract them, to do all kinds of things. So if we wanted this to all be one shape, all you need to do is click and drag through the whole thing. And now it is one shape, right? So you can see there, it is one shape and it was two shapes. We just used the Shapebuilder tool, click and drag, boom. But if we want to subtract maybe the middle part here, we can hold Alt or Option and just strike through. And now it is going to subtract that. And now you'll see that we have an opening here that is just subtracted. But we want to create the half moon. So we're going to select these. We're going to use our Shapebuilder tool. And this is why it probably works different for you each time you use it, is maybe you are adding or subtracting in different ways. What we can do is we can hold Alt, and I'm going to just subtract this and subtract this. And when I let go, it now has punched out this nice little moon for me that I can turn into a nice little gray glowing moon color. So you can really create some organic shapes by just overlapping and using the Shapebuilder tool. And Nick, what are you doing over here? What kind of bubbles you got going on here?
I love that it's like Team Shapebuilder or Team Pathfinder, right?
Yes. Do you want to talk about Pathfinder?
Very similar. Yeah.
Let's do it.
This is my favorite tool. I think these two tools are the ways you build shapes, you build custom logos, you do those things. But when you don't want to do it by hand and you want the app to like kind of do the cutting and the design kind of for you based on what you're doing. So here's just like you had, I have 3 individual circles here as well. I've got the Pathfinder tool in my little utilities area over here. What's great is these little icons over here tell you exactly what they're going to do. So if I hit this unite, you see here, I got them completely done and united. If I do this one here, this is minus front. Whatever's in the front will minus, those 2 circles were in the front. It literally just like took a bite out of that one piece. And now you have something cool here as well. You hover over here, you're going to get intersect. And what you're going to get is the one area of all 3 of those where they intersect. So if I do the Y, you'll see that that was the one area that kind of worked, which is really, really cool. So I'll do a Command Z there as well. And we'll take these again. Go through these. These are really cool. This is the one where it will actually extrude. And this is those 3 points where it actually all 3 combine, and it gives you that fun thing. So you can obviously use this in the same way to make like what a compound path is. So let's say you want this piece subtracted from there. I always just send it to back, which is a Command Shift and the left bracket. And with those 2 selected now, I hover over here, I have minus back, and just like you did, it gives you that window.
Yep.
It's literally a cutout, and that's what you call more of a compound path than just a white and a green circle grouped together.
Yep.
So cool tools there between both sides.
Yep. And think about it is like, if you're familiar at all with like scrapbooking or like building things, like it's a lot of hole punches. It's a lot of stamps.
There you go.
It's a lot of kind of creating windows. Is you're just kind of sorting through how pieces interact with each other. So let's go way back and pull it way back to something that we didn't show. And that is the fill and the stroke. So we have this shape here, and we talked about Illustrator being vector based, which means that it is not raster, right? We don't have these little jagged edges, and we can't kind of brush in soft colors. We have a fill and a stroke. Fill and stroke is the color that it is filled with or the color that it is stroked with. And it is just finding this path here. And so over here in our swatches panel, or we can double click right here and find the perfect color. So we're going to make this a nice bright red right there. Let's make it a dark red. Ooh, moody. And this is the fill. So this shape is now filled with that color. Now in the back is the stroke. We can actually double click here as well. And let's find a nice kind of like bright orange and put that on. So we're gonna hit OK. And now we have a stroke around this. We can't see it very well, but in the panel over here, we have a stroke panel. This is gonna allow us to up that stroke. And now we have a very thick stroke that's following along that path, right? We also can align this. We have all kinds of options. We can round where we have corners, and then we can align it to the center, we can align it to the outside, or we can align it just directly to the path. I like it on the path. And so we have the fill and the stroke. Over here, we can flip these if you want to see a different version. I actually like this version better. So you can flip it back and forth, and you also, a hotkey for this, Shift X, will flip those back and forth.
Look at that. So if you're making a few of them and you want to alternate and have some fun with the different kind of inverse colors, quick way to do it.
Yep, super easy. So you can use the shape and fill, or sorry, the fill and stroke to kind of play around with the new colors. And there also is the swatches panel. If you want to just use some default colors up here, you can pick one of those. Or if you want to save one of your custom colors, you can simply select your stroke or fill, come over to your swatches panel, and then from there, click on plus, and then you can add that to your swatches right there. Now I have my own color. Pretty cool, right?
Cool. So good.
All right, Nick, let's talk about type next.
Yeah.
So Illustrator, there are a lot of different things to do. Can you tell us a little bit about the type tool, how we'd use it, and where it would kind of go into our workflow?
Perfect. So we've got a lot of options here as well. I'm going to just click on the type that is in my left toolbar here as well. I have seen some people doing toolbar on the far right, which was kind of cool. I think it's all about like what you like. We should talk about workspace as well after we go through here.
Real quick, we had a question from YouTube. June Nightingale is saying, I'm lost with the tool that you're creating the green shapes with. So that is the Pathfinder tool. And the Pathfinder tool actually is not, I don't think by default shows up, but it is right here, and it is the overlapping pieces. If there's ever a tool that you don't have, you can go to help and you can just type it in if you're on Mac, or you can go to window and then go to Pathfinder. So you can find it right here, Pathfinder, and it's going to open up that Pathfinder tool for you right there. And now you have the Pathfinder tool. So hopefully that helps. Go to window and Pathfinder, and you can open up a bunch of different menus right here as well. All right, Nick, back to you.
There we go. All right, so I'm selecting the type tool, and when we click on it, you can see we've got a ton of different options. I'm going to start right with just the type tool. You literally go right into your artboard, click, you'll get the fun little kind of placeholder here, and we will put in our type, ready to go. And with the direct select, or with the regular select tool, I'm just going to kind of get a nice big kind of thing here. It obviously increases the size. When you have your text thing, which is Command T, you'll see here your character tells you the font that you have right now. It tells you it is a bold version of it. And you have all this other information as well. I think you even have show options, right? There you go. You got a ton more. So I'm going to move this away because it looks like it's in our There we go.
Oh, yes. I was going to move
Look
chat.
at that, guys. Look at that. All right, cool. So you got everything. This is a fun way to kind of figure out just the basics of typography as well. When everything you have here, just simple stuff. Play around with these. Hit the arrows. You'll see here we're doing letter spacing, which is great. Here we're actually doing the character width. This is something I always say, like, don't mess around with too much because you could truly kind of get rid of the essence of a good font. I think if you need to, you can kind of do some little like making it a little bit smaller or a little bit taller in those different ways. So you have all this really cool stuff to kind of figure out. And that's just your simple one type tool, which is really, really cool.
Yep.
If you want now, you click and go back, and now you have type area. So this is area type tool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little area we have here, which is this one. Let's take the blue one because this is outlined. I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Okay. Let's say we want to have type within a space, and the client loves this kind of, polygon here. Let's take this. We'll go to the type thing, go to type area tool. You click right on it. And what it will do is it will give you the Greeking perfect, ready to go.
Yep.
But you now have the control to mess around with this.
And Nick, what's Greeking?
Greeking is basically fake type.
Yes.
Waiting for you to put in yours. I love that you can change this in settings that's a little more advanced. You can put certain copy, certain text to be your kind of like default. But for now, all I'm going to do really is just kind of like center it first, right? You can even justify and by clicking here, and you notice that keeps the integrity of the shape a little bit more, but it does spread out your word spacing. So again, this is something to mess around with. It gives you something really easy to play with and put it in shape.
As you're selecting things and doing things, there's a little bar that is popping up at the bottom. Yes. What is that? Ooh. What does it do? And how can we use it? It is a new tool in Illustrator. I don't think I've taught a beginner's class with this existing yet. So Nick, what is that? How does it work? And what can we do to help learn?
This is our contextual tool. And this is fairly new, right? I'd say
yes,
it's about a year and a half. Right? Which is great. Notice whatever you have selected. I'm going to go back to the star and notice here, it's custom things in that bar that are looking to say, hey, is this what you need to do? Do you want to do a gen fill in there? Do you want to edit the path? Awesome. But if I click the type, notice now I'm getting quick type actions that it thinks I might want. Do I want to go in there and actually change the font? Great. Do I need to change this to a bit bigger? Great. So you get all of these quick actions. It knows exactly what you want to do, and it gives you those options.
Yep, really cool. So that is an easy way to learn if you are selecting things. It will kind of just adapt to what you are working on or what you have selected so that you can learn. So something else you can do is we did have the type that Nick created where he just kind of clicked and did office hours. And there is a different version. So there are two different versions of creating type here. The first is this, and this is called point type. And the reason it's called point type is because it starts at a point and it just keeps going. So if I kept typing here, it would just keep going forever, right? It's going to keep going on that point. Now, you also can use area type. And what that is it's basically like creating a text box. If you're familiar with using a different program of any sort, you're probably familiar with text boxes. So you can click and drag, and now we're creating a text box. And it's going to fill that text box, and you can see that it's going to wrap that text. It is going to create those nice little paragraphs for us that creates those text box. So
what's that little red box on the bottom right?
Little red box right here that you're seeing means that there is extra type that is overlapping, right? There's more type than can fit in the box. And if we click on this, it is going to allow me to then make another box that is connected. So you can see here that these are connected. So when I delete part of this, it will delete out of that box as well. So you can use that if you're flowing like long form data or a lot of information. You can just use connected text boxes. And as I scale one of these, it is going to just flow that right through. Pretty cool, right?
Love that. So that's a great thing. If you ever see that, that's just a good warning to know you have some copy there that is not being seen in that text box.
Yep, absolutely. And it's something that you can
a few times with that.
Yep. And you can keep doing this with as many text boxes as you like. I wonder if there is a limit to how many text boxes could be connected. I don't think there is. But you'll see all of these are going to flow into each other because they are connected now. And so if you ever have overset text, if you have too much, or if you just want to connect text boxes, you can do it by clicking on this little button right here in the corner, and that will allow you to connect your text boxes.
Nice.
Pretty cool. All right, so we have, let's see, we got about 15 minutes left, chat.
Okay.
Do we have any other basics that we need to cover that y'all have questions about? I do. Maybe somebody had a question about 3D. I don't know if I want to get into that, but we might
be a
if there's
lot,
time.
right?
Yes. And June Nightingale is saying, this is great. What was the tool where you conformed the text to the shape? I need to place type inside of an irregular shape. Ooh, I got you. Okay, so what you need to do there is there's actually a really, really easy way to do that. So let's say that you have your irregular shape, right? That's the right screen. So we have our irregular shape. It looks like this. This is our weird irregular shape. It does need to be a closed shape, right? So we've talked about path versus shape is as I do this, right? If I just stop here, even though they look the same, they are not the same, right? We have it is not a full path. But what I can do is I can select this full path that is closed. So it starts and ends at the same place. We can go to T, which is the type tool. We can do two things. We can either click and drag and do area type tool, or you can just hover over this line and see how it turns into a circle there. It's a little hard to see, but it goes from a box into a circle right there. And once you are selecting that shape, you can go circle, and now, boom, it is inside of that shape, which is really cool. And someone's saying, can you go between two different shapes? Well, what a great question. And the answer is absolutely. So I'm going to just change the shape. And again, I'm using the direct selection tool here, which is the A, to change the size of this text box. And just like we had on the last one, it's saying, hey, there is overset text. And I'm going to say, I want to take that overset text that we have right here, and I'd like to connect it right there. And you can see the same thing. Instead of being a little box, it turns into a little parenthesis. And I click, and it's going to flow it into that shape as well. And then the more that I change this shape by using these different anchor points, it is going to keep flowing that into the other shape as well.
Endless opportunities.
Endless opportunities. Incredible. Magic. So using the shape right here, using the area type tool, or just hovering over, you can use the area type tool. A lot of the tools are contextual to where you are clicking with them. So kind of hover over, try to combine what you're trying to do, and sometimes it will just show you how to do that. All right, Nick, you've created a star. Let's talk about a star. What are we doing over here?
This is the perfect little kind of shape to show you your transform tools. And your transform tools are everything from scale, rotate, reflect, something that you need to do quickly for that particular one. They're all right here. I've got them together. So you have scale, you have shear, you have reshape, and then over here, we have reflect and rotate. So I'm just going to do the rotate one. The rotate one is very simple. You basically click and hold your mouse and you can rotate it. If you have shift down, what it will do is it will do it again in those perfect little 45-degree kind of angles, which is great.
And if you don't, if you have a specific amount that you need to rotate something by, once you select that tool, you can just hit enter. And this is true for like any tool. If you don't want to do it manually, you can select your object and hit enter, and you can move things around. You can transform them. You can scale them. Just hit enter, and then you can manually put in your numbers if that feels easier for you.
There's a great thing too, like if you know the certain angle you need to shear something at. And shear, what it does is it's going to take something and kind of like tweak it in a fun little perspective. So if I hover over here and we go to the shear tool, I'm going to just option click and I'll get the dialog box. So let's say someone knows they want it at a specific angle. It's got to be 15%. So you hit 15, you hit OK, and notice it has italicized that 15%. You can go in there and do it freely. You can literally just hit the shift key. That keeps it a little parallel. But if you know there's the exact angle, that's really fun to kind of mess with. So again, shear works on everything. So you can really make some very cool and dynamic little shapes. That's there. And the other one it shares with is the scale tool. And again, this is just a quick way. You really don't need to go to this the scale tool. As it's clicked and you just have your bounding box on, you can drag any corner with that, and I can get any degree of scale, but with the shift key down, it will keep the constraint at the actual size of what you made. So that way you're not distorting anything. It's something there. And option click will allow you the perfect kind of thing. So option, whoops, let's get that again. Boom, here on the scale, option. And now if someone says, you know what, I need that 200% bigger, we just hit 200%. And we got it there.
Boom. And another easy way to do that is if we do want to create a star like Nick is doing, there is actually a tool for that. So we can grab the star tool that is right here. And we're going to click and drag, and you can see that it's bringing out a star. But let's say that we want, instead of it being dragged out, see how we're dragging from that left point right there? As I drag out, it's dragging from the left point. Now, if I don't want to drag out or scale or move at a weird angle, I can hold shift like Nick showed, and that is going to scale it out to that point. But if I want to scale from the center, I can hold shift and also alt, and that is going to allow me to scale from the center, right? So let's scale. Actually, this is not going to matter, right?
Let's see.
It won't matter because we're already scaling from the center.
There you go.
Okay, so here we go. Let's do it with a circle. So circle, we're going to click and drag, and you can see that we're actually dragging out like from the left to the right. If I hold shift, it's going to create that perfect circle, and you can see it's dragging out left to right. Now, if I hold alt or option, now it's scaling from that point that I started, right? So we're starting right in the middle here. And that is now going to the left. You can see that it's starting like right here and then going out to the left or right. But if we hold Alt or Option, it's going to scale directly out from that center point that I start.
Cool.
Right? So try to add Alt or Option as you're clicking and dragging, or try to use Shift as you're clicking and dragging with the tool to see what that tool does, because a lot of them just have different variations that you can use with your tools. All right. Also, let's do polygons real quick, because I think that'll be an easy thing for everyone to learn. If you are trying to create using different shapes, you can actually use the polygon tool right here in Illustrator. And the polygon tool is an easy way to create corners, to create shapes, to kind of stack things together. But as we click and drag out, right, with the polygon tool selected, we can click and drag. We are going to drag out a polygon. And again, I'm going to hold shift here, and that's just going to make it so it stays flat. Nice. And you can actually use the up and down arrows to add sides or take sides away. So this is going, we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's an octagon. So you can kind of use those to go left and right to create different angles, which is really cool. So with all of these angles and corners, we can also use the direct selection tool, which is the white one, the A. And we can select here, and you can see like Nick had all these little nodes pop up. And this is a great way to create organic and unique shapes, is using the direct selection tool and then rounding these corners off, right? We can create a full circle if we round it all the way. But you can create some really cool, interesting, like small rounded shapes. Now, you can round it, and like I said, as you're clicking and dragging things, hold shift, hit different buttons and see what happens. You can hit up and down, and it will actually change the way that the corners are rounding. So this one gives you a nice little bevel, like, and this one gives you like a straight cut. You see that it's actually cutting into that. So there are a couple different ways, or 3 different ways that you can create rounded corners using that tool and just hitting the up and down arrows.
Those are some unique ways to get, if you're looking to do a fun like gear shape within a logo or something like that. There's your tip, right? You can find those. And I think you have the best kind of like suggestion. As you're doing something, mess around with a few keys and see what it does. I think we still find fun and unique surprises in Illustrator every day. Yes, and if you were here earlier for how we were using the arc tool, I literally held the arc tool and then just went across the keyboard because I knew that there was a hotkey that did something. I just didn't know where it was. So do that. Like hold it, try to hit X, hit C, hit up, down, shift, alt, all those things. Just see what happens with tools. And a great tip here from our friend Robert in the chat is if you want to make a copy of something, instead of copy and pasting it by going to edit, copy, and paste, you can click and drag. And instead of just clicking and dragging, hold Alt or Option, and it's going to make a copy of that. So you can see there, as I hold Alt or Option, it's actually changing my cursor to 2 little arrows instead of 1. It's going to make a copy of that, and then I have an exact copy, right? And let's say I want to do that again, is Illustrator remembers everything that you do to a shape. And there we just told Illustrator, hey, take this shape, make a copy of it, and move it over by negative 605 pixels. There you go. And from there, we could say, hey, Illustrator, I want you to do that again. And we can go to Object, Transform, Transform Again, and it's going to do that again. So Illustrator is remembering every time you do something. So if you're ever making a pattern or you're ever trying to make a grid of something, once you do something once, you can just say, hey, Illustrator, can you do that again? Great. And the hotkey for that is Control D. So you can say one more time, do it again, Endless. Great. And there we go. Endless. You can keep going, you can hold it down, and you can create really cool patterns and different elements there. So chat, we had a lot of fun. We got 5 minutes left. Do you have any last questions? I'm going to look at the YouTube chat as well.
Someone's asking about 3D. Someone's saying if I do not expand, then it stays vector. Yes, that is correct. So everything in Illustrator will stay vector until you rasterize it, which means that it turns it into pixels.
Correct.
Okay. I think, hey, Andrew, can I ask if I were to take a vector image, then rotate using 3D, and after rotating as a vector image still remain a vector image, or is it raster image? Anything that goes into 3D at the moment will rasterize. The shape stays vector, but the render is raster. So it renders in raster. Right. But yes. So yes, still does that. I think we're getting into the hard stuff now, but let's try this real quick.
This is like 201.
Yes, I do think that there is a way to render as vector. Keep your questions coming, chat. I'm going to test this real quick. And I just want to see if it's an option. And as always, we are looking at YouTube chat. We are looking at Behance chat. So please ask your questions back and forth. Masking. Nick, can you talk about masking while I figure out? Great question. Yeah. Great question. Our chat. Here's how you mask things in Adobe Illustrator.
Perfect. So let's say you've got something here and you want this will be our guide rail. So this is the mask we want. I'll give it like a red key line. And these are some elements that we have here. So I'm going to make them a bit bigger. And let's place them in different little areas going past our particular border here. So I'm going to grab all 5 of these. I got just my shapes. I'm going to group them, makes it a little bit easier. That is Command G. And all that does is it allows these to now move together as needed because they are grouped. They are still individual objects. But I want to mask them. So let's say I want to mask them within this red area. It is so incredibly easy. You just make sure whatever you're masking is on top. So how you do that is Shift Command right bracket.
Or right click.
Yep. Or
so
you can
select
see
it.
Exactly. Yeah. So you take this, right click it, and you can see that, and you can bring it to the front, which is awesome.
Yep. And down there it's in arrange. So arrange and then bring to front.
Take everything together, and I'll show you the step, but there is a shortcut to it. You're going to go to Objects, and you go to Clipping Mask, and hit Make. And there it is. This is one of those ones I see my students putting like white squares around what they want to crop.
Yep.
and when the first thing I'll do is I'll do Command Y, which gives you wireframe. Don't forget, this is a great little fun tip, even in the beginner area. And it's so cool. This is really, really awesome.
Yes. So it's basically creating a window. We talked about Illustrator's a lot of windows. It's basically just creating a window. And going back to our question, yes, you can render as vector. So once you have your vector object here, come up to your tracing options and go to render as vector. And that is it's going to be a little bit heavy. It's going to take a little bit of a time, but you can render as vector and maintain your vectors that you're working with in Illustrator, which is really cool. So
you lost my video, so I'm going to find.
I did. Nick got frozen. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. All right. So you can, and so best way to save. Ooh, that's a great question. Best way to save. File. Save as right here. So you can go to File, Save As. You can name your file, and then you just hit Save. So right there, you can save that. You also can save to Cloud Documents. So you can go save to Cloud Documents right here, and you're able to type in what it is, and it will save into the cloud so that you can have it accessible on any of your documents, which is really cool. And let's see what other questions do we have in chat. We're getting Nick's video back in just a second here, chat. There we go. He's back. Hi, Nick.
You got it.
We got it.
Hey, look at that.
Hey, buddy. Best way to save, got it. Or just Control S is an easy way to do as well. If you want to export a file, it's going to export only what's on your artboard. So we have all this stuff all over. But if I go to File, Export, and I do Export As, we're just going to export this as a JPEG for now. So we're going to go JPEG right there. And we are going to use Artboard 1 and export that. And then very easily, it is going to show just that one. So I'm actually going to open this for you so you can see. Now it is only displaying, boom, this artboard, right? So not the entire piece. It's only exporting that one artboard. That's the best way to export. File, export, export as. You can do JPEG or PNG if you want it to be see-through.
Andrew, I have a question.
Yes.
How are you moving around your artboard so freely?
Oh, I'm using space, which is the hands tool. So you just hold the space, hold space button, and boom, boom, boom. You can just click and drag around. Oh, I'm literally not even showing the screen. You can click and drag just holding the space bar, or you can hit Z for zoom, and you can click and drag to the right or left to zoom in or out. really, really easily, or you can simply just use your drags. Use the space
thing
bar.
is the best, like, because you could be in any tool, but if you need to move quickly to another artboard, it's like you're grabbing the artboard in front of you and basically moving it to the next one.
Bow.
Look at that.
Bow.
Isn't that great?
And you can see, look what's happening here.
Yeah.
It's raster because it's 3D.
Do we want to show workspaces really quick?
Yes, let's do it. If I don't die first, go for it.
All right.
Oh, we have 1 minute, so go quick.
Yeah. So real quick, window gives you workspace. You have tons of preset ones here. You have automation, essentials, classics. What this is going to do, watch when I click essentials, it changes my artboard. You can't even see it because of the.
Hold on, chat. Sorry, chat. Get out of here, chat. We have to show you something.
Printing and proving.
There we go.
So, it maneuvers and gets things around, but the best part, I'll leave you with this tip. You can go in there and make your own. Notice I have my own down here, Nick Space number 1, and it's all of the things. I spent a little time making it customized to what I want, and it helps me out every time.
We did it. So that's Illustrator Basics. We'll come back. We'll maybe do some more. We'll do Photoshop maybe next week, another one. So come around 9 a.m. every Monday. We're here with Adobe Office Hours AM. Stick around. There is a great episode of Drawing a Blank coming up next with Cody Bear and Voodoo Val. We'll see you another time. Thanks for watching Adobe Office Hours. Bye, everybody. Fun.
Way too fast.